Okay, well, let's just get started then. Aspiring citizen developer. All right, Alborz. Alborz bringing the urbanism to Alhambra. We'll all be better for it. So I think folks can see my screen. Yeah, so this is just a webinar about SB 1123 implementation. This is also known as the Starter Home Revitalization Act. It was a cleanup bill to uh, SB 684, which we'll also talk about. Um, uh, SB 11, in shorthand, it often gets called SB 1123 because uh, SB 1123 really expanded the geography and will allow this housing to get built in more neighborhoods. Um, we'll start with a brief land acknowledgement. Um, the Los Angeles Basin was home to the Gabrielino people whose stewardship shaped this place for generations. The Gabrielino people includes, but is not limited to, the Chumash, Tattaviam, Kiz people. They lived in what is now LA County, and as advocates, we commit to carrying forward values of care, shared responsibility, ensuring that everyone has a place to live here, now, and in the future. And everyone deserves a home, which is part of why housing advocacy fits into a larger framework of restorative justice. So tonight's agenda, just a brief overview, some introductions, who we are, what we're doing, policy overview, what we talk about, what we mean when we talk about missing middle housing, and why it's important, and how that fits into the recent state bills. Go over the California landscape of missing middle bills from recent years, and then we're going to dive into the Starter Home Revitalization Act, which is our main focus today, and talk about what's next, organizing what folks can do. Um, and yeah, I created this presentation a little bit with advocates in mind, volunteers, people who are um, looking to lobby directly and appeal to their local city councils to advocate for more affordable housing typologies in more neighborhoods. But hopefully it'll be of use to lots of different groups. And yeah, we can always chat later as well. Um, so a little bit about our values. We are working to solve California's housing crisis. We're advocating for more homes at all levels of affordability. And we're a community of 20 chapters across LA County. Uh, um, and AHLA, Abundant Housing LA, envisions a Los Angeles County where uh, every resident can find an affordable home that meets their needs in their neighborhood of choice. We aspire to create sustainable, diverse communities that prioritize, excuse me, accessibility, minimize car dependency, and foster healthier, more inclusive environment for all. And a little bit more about us. We do educational events. I'm on staff. I'll introduce myself in a minute, but the work that we do is so much broader than that, made up of amazing members and volunteers, folks like yourselves. We do educational events that Josh helps facilitate as our education and events director. We just held our first symposium, walking tours, happy hours, mixers. We're building a community to build more housing. So we're going to public meetings, educating people about the roots of the housing crisis and also evidence-based solutions. So that includes webinars like the one we're hosting tonight. So my name is Jake, or Jacob, and this is a little bit of info about me, but basically I'm a journalist who grew up locally in LA County. And by way of background, due to some unexpected family luck, I happened to grow up in a pretty high resource area of LA County by nothing that me or even my parents uh, uh, no choices they made of their own agency. And that it really had a positive effect on my life, you know. Um, and the privilege allowed me to grow up in an area with high performing schools. So I feel passionate about ensuring that more kids grow up with privileges like the ones I had, and a principle we call affirmatively furthering fair housing, which is something we'll talk about tonight. And a little bit more about our work. I mean, I mentioned our education, our events, our amazing volunteers, our 20 local chapters. Um, we politics. We our volunteers participate in grassroots lobbying efforts, and we're a 501(c)(3) nonprofit, but we have an associated 501(c)(4) that does political endorsements. Um, and you know, on the policy side, my colleague, my supervisor Scott and I are analyzing policies all the way from your local planning commission all the way to the state level. Um, Assembly, Senate. So what kind of bills are we supporting? Just as a brief overview, you know, it's bills that affirmatively further fair housing. So I touched on this briefly, but this is about reversing segregation patterns and allowing more housing in areas that are close to, you know, high-paying jobs or clean air, high-performing schools, good parks. We're sponsoring and supporting bills that streamline housing approvals because we have a housing crisis that's driven by a housing shortage. So we need to get housing on board faster, legalizing housing in more neighborhoods, creating more home ownership opportunities. A lot of the housing we're building is to rent, which is great. We need more rental housing. We also need more housing available to buy, and generally improving urban planning practices. So, what does SB 1123 touch on? I mean, it touches on kind of all these, at least four of them. Affirmatively furthering fair housing, streamlining housing approvals, uh, housing in more neighborhoods, creating more housing opportunity, home ownership opportunities. Um, and so here's a graphic folks may have seen. Um, this is a graphic that shows the different types of housing typologies on this spectrum. Um, and why are there different types of housing on this in this graphic and in different neighborhoods? I mean, a foundation of modern urban planning that folks may be familiar with is a principle called zoning. And zoning regulates which uses are permitted in various areas and at what densities. And so zoning has limited the types of allowable housing typologies and basically said where they can go. So if we look on the far left, the single family homes, these make up these are obviously the lowest density form of housing, um, and they're prevalent even in urban areas. In most cities, it's you know 2/3 to 3/4 of residential land oftentimes is zoned for single family residences, and then again residents in these neighborhoods often have access to higher performing schools, clean air, other health benefits, and then but single family homes are really expensive. And at the far end, we have mid-rise apartments over here to the right. If we kept going, if this map kept going further to the right off the screen, we would have high-rise apartments, we would have skyscrapers. So these apartments on the far right, the mid-rise, denser apartment buildings, these homes are more affordable. You know, I live in one, I like it, but they're not always cheap either. They're expensive to build, they're not for everyone. And so this is where the whole missing middle landscape comes in. So missing middle is all of these homes in between the single family and the mid-rise buildings. These homes are can be cheaper because of lower construction costs. They may offer more community green space or per capita. The building scale will more closely match the existing low density of many neighborhoods. So really, basically, there's a lot of potential to build the kinds of typologies we're seeing in the middle left of the spectrum, intermixed with the very low density on the far left. Um, so yeah, you can still find homes like these today, but they're very often very old and sometimes in high demand because for the most part we don't build them anymore. Um, so again, it's missing middle housing, and that's why we're here to build more of this stuff in the middle and create more home ownership opportunities too. Um, okay, so a brief legislative history of what's been going on at the state in terms of missing middle housing, which I think helps frame the problem a little bit. Um, a lot of recent bills to facilitate missing middle housing have been in the Department of ADUs. So accessory dwelling units, these are often, converted garages or, kind of cottage in the backyard. So bills that legalized unpermitted ADUs, removed owner occupancy requirements, allowed for pre-approved ADU plans, reducing parking requirements, and then the other big one, which was um, a big sea change for a movement politically, was SB 9, which legalizes lots and duplexes. I'm not going chronologically here. Some of these ADU uh, bills are more recent than SB 9, but um, and it's a mixed history. ADU legislation has largely been a big win. In recent years, yeah, about 1 in 5 homes permitted in California has been an ADU. SB 9 to legalize uh, uh, lot splits uh, and duplexes has been more of a mixed bag, and has seen very little and limited uptake. So an SB 9 is a home ownership strategy in itself because of the provision for the lot split, but it's not delivering. And so what we're working on, what one of the things that advocates are working on is creating more opportunities for that AFFH, that affirmatively furthering fair housing, to allow more housing in these higher resource, lower density neighborhoods, and also make them available to buy. Um, this is maybe a good pausing place. I don't know if Josh, if anyone has thrown any questions in the chat yet.
We're good. I think
Okay, sounds good.
we're tuned in.
All right, all right. So, yeah, a little bit of background. We're going to start with SB 684, which is the first kind of the original pivotal moment in the Starter Home Revitalization Act, sometimes called SHURA. So SB 684 passed in 2023. It was authored by Senator Ana Caballero of the Central Coast and Central Valley. And this bill streamlined the development of small housing projects and created more housing opportunity for the development of lower cost housing. And basically, what the bill did is it created a ministerial and by right process for uh, the, the subdivision maps to be approved ministerially, so that in many cases up to 10 units on a parcel. You can divide a parcel into up to 10 units and have each one be its own standalone starter home. The bill prohibits the removal of housing that is low income or rent controlled or occupied with tenants within the last 7 years, and it ensures the streamlined projects meet environmental sustainability standards. Um, and the tricky, oh shoot, I just realized it wasn't, the text wasn't showing up on the screen. It also, the last piece of SB 684, and part of its legacy was that it was supposed to apply on vacant single-family parcels, and that was carved out at the last second by the state legislature, which meant that this only ended up applying on multifamily parcels. And a lot of advocates were really excited about the single-family provisions because that was again, that had the opportunity to open up more neighborhoods to housing. Um, but we committed to bringing it back the next year, and we were worried it was going to be a heavy lift without when it was just upzoning single family. But luckily, we were able to pass SB 1123 the following year, also from Senator Caballero. And this is made a number of technical changes to better facilitate starter home development, allowed ADUs on subdivisions if a jurisdiction opts into that provision, um, and most importantly, allowed the Starter Home Revitalization Act to apply to vacant single-family parcels. Um, and yeah, this the image I have here, it's not technically a SB 1123 or SB 684 project, but this is an older courtyard apartment complex, I believe in Glendale. Um, so it speaks to the kind of the general kind of housing we're not building anymore and the stuff we can build in the near future, thanks to more or less thanks to these important state bills. So one thing that makes SB 1123 such a game changer is that the bill establishes a flexible definition of vacant. I was talking earlier about how SB 1123 applies on single family land that is vacant or abandoned. Um, and the definitions of vacant and abandoned were relatively flexible. So that gives um, developers, in many cases, depending on the city, a little bit more leeway to develop these housing typologies. And also subsequent interpretations of the bill have found that the developer can divide a single family parcel and preserve the existing single family residence, and then uh, create a remainder parcel from the remaining the rest of the uh, property that doesn't include the single family home, and then subdivide the whether it's the backyard or the rest of the property with SB 1123 starter homes. This was a provision in AB 130, but when combined, it provided a lot more flexibility. Um, the I should say this, this doesn't mean that, every single family neighborhood is suddenly going to be, starter homes and courtyard apartments. There's still going to be, challenges in terms of setbacks, in terms of the way different cities interpret this bill, which is something we're here working on today, and the reason we need further cleanup at the state level. Um, so part of the idea for this webinar, and I think the main impetus for it is that this bill works best when cities adopt local implementing ordinances. The bill these bills are state law. They take effect regardless. Um, but it helps if a city adopts the ordinance to incorporate the bill language into their city code. So this creates clarity, uh, translating state law into clear local rules for staff and applicants, faster approvals, um, and legal compliance lowers the risk of inconsistency with state housing law, um, and more housing, making it easier for these small scale projects to get built. The gist here is that if the uh, if the project is if the uh, state law is incorporated into city code, it makes the process more predictable for developers and also for applicants, for developers, for the community. So a few uh, things for advocates to be focusing on. One is that uh, SB 1123 does allow uh, these subdivisions to include ADUs. And this is something that some jurisdictions have been opting into. It's something Culver City passed last month, which was very exciting. Um, and this creates an opportunity for more housing density, maybe more rental and home ownership opportunities, makes it easier for these projects to pencil. Also, if a city opts into AB 1033, which allows ADUs to be sold as condos, then you're effectively doubling the potential density, um, assuming you can make, the setbacks work and everything. Um, and another one is this issue of um, allowing projects to move forward on places where there's already an existing single family home. So again, these bills, there are tenant protections for um, to prevent against the displacement of rent-controlled households. But when there's just a single family home sitting there, it's really helps in terms of uh, housing development if there's flexibility in ways for the developer to move forward and not have to worry about the existing structure. Again, the ability to create a remainder parcel and build around the single family home is very helpful. Um, but what's even more helpful and many times is when a city has flexible flexibility in terms of allowing um, issuing a demolition permit or creating very workable definitions in terms of abandonment, such as 6 months of vacancy based on utility records or a boarded up structure. This is something the City of LA has shown a lot of leadership on in their implementing ordinance, their implementation memo of SB 1123. And Culver City and LA, there are some very there are some great models here locally. What makes a city a good fit for SB 1123? Um, we want implementing ordinances in as many cities as possible. We have 89 local governments in LA County, and we would love to see all of them opt into uh, ambitious housing reform. Generally speaking, an openness to increasing housing production obviously is a start. Political interest in creating more starter homes, including for working class families, a community where homeownership is a not so distant memory, maybe a place where The council members remember, oh, I bought my house 10 years ago, or I remember when my friends were able to buy a house at some point in the past decade. This both reminds people how that home ownership can be attainable, and also will the land costs may be lower and will make these starter homes more affordable by design. Um, and then also, as I referenced on the last slide, making it a city that makes it easy to um, either demolish in existing single-family home as is, or secure a demolition permit. And then the last one is cities have housing elements. The and a lot of cities they adopted programs about home ownership and creating starter homes in their housing elements. And some cities are lagging on those commitments. And so SB 1123 is oftentimes a great um, way to go back to that city and say, hey, you said you were going to do that. Here's a tool to help you achieve it. Talking points for implementing SB 1123. Uh, as starter homes, as these are starter homes, they enable smaller, more affordable homes for first-time buyers, seniors, local workers, gentle growth, add moderate scale housing in existing neighborhoods, a faster, simpler process, clear rules, reduce delays and staff burden, economic benefits. We're talking about, as with all, you know, uh, housing reforms that we support. We're talking about supporting local jobs, increasing the tax base, and supporting smaller developers, not just the big guys building the 500 unit complexes, and community stability, helping residents stay in the city instead of being priced out. Um, and so some initial first steps you can do, you can contact your city council and ask them, or your planning department, ask them to opt in to SB 1123. Um, and I'm trying to find, there it is, there's a check. You can advocate for best practices in line with what we've been laying out today in this presentation. Um, you can email me. My email address is jacob@abundanthousingle.org. Jake@abundanthousingle.org will also get you there. And then, we're here to brainstorm too. We're going to open it up to questions in a little bit. And happy to keep the conversation going again if folks have more technical questions. Um, yes, the Jesse, I can get back to you in a minute about the floor area ratio, setbacks, and building separation. It's a little bit different based on whether it's on single family or multifamily, and hopefully we'll be changing under state law too to make it more flexible. Um, so what else is next? We do have a cleanup bill that we're helping sponsor along with California YIMBY. This is going to it creates new definitions and clarifications to um, create more flexibility in terms of density requirements, height limits, the average lot size requirements, setbacks, just making these projects a little bit easier to pencil, basically. We have so that's a bill that's going to start being heard in committee pretty soon, and hopefully we'll be going to the Senate floor before long. Um, it has reporting requirements to allow us to better track this tool's effectiveness in terms of creating new housing. Uh, and lastly, if folks are able to, uh, you should register for California DMV Lobby Day, which is Tuesday, May 19th. Uh, there's a link in the presentation, and I just dropped it into the chat as well. And this is all about yeah, this is where we advocate for the state bills that developers are able to use and that get housing built that people are able to move into. So, and then if folks are available, AHLA is having an additional lobby day the following day, uh, Wednesday, May 20th. If folks are able to stay over, AHLA will cover your lodging, and yeah, we would love to have your support. Um, and I think that about does it. Any questions so far?
Uh, Kevin has his hand raised. So, Kevin, if you'd like to go.
Yes, hi Jacob. Thank you for very concise presentation. So I'm looking at few parcels actively right now. The one that I found, it's an R3 zone here in LA City. So I'm trying to see if it kind of qualifies under SB 684. The basic questions that I have is for the multifamily zone parcels for SB 684. The biggest hurdle that I see is, let's say there's a single family home there and it was rezoned for R2, R3, and their owner lives there. Would owner occupancy, would that be a disqualification for 684? And I want to take it one step further. What if it's a tenancy? And if it is, because that's the biggest hurdle that I see right now, finding a house that we could overcome those obstacles. Can you please elaborate on that? And also, is there a setback? Meaning, I went to another lecture. They were saying the setbacks for 684, 1123 are already determined, or do we go with the local zoning? Please elaborate.
Yes, the setbacks are established under state law. I can forward that info over to you. Um, let's see, what tab was it in? Um, but those have been established. It's similar to the setbacks for ADUs. So it's pretty moderate, modest in scale. Yes, the I can if you can drop your email in the chat, I can circle back with you about the tenant issue. I'm hearing that that is a real challenge in terms of uh, confirming that when the parcel was last occupied by a tenant and uh, if applicable, what income category they were in. So yeah, we should chat more about that. That's another challenge we're hearing about for sure.
But again, I haven't really heard what I wanted to see if you could elaborate. This remainder parcel that you're talking about, it doesn't really make sense in most parcels because you could have a single family home blocking most of the parcel, and if you want to put another 2 or 3 units, it's going to be next to impossible. As we both know, most lots are not going to qualify for 10 homes. They're not because the lots
Right.
are not that big. So the question is, how could we overcome that? I mean, can we move that house? Can we demo it? Can you elaborate how that works?
Yes. I believe the tenant look back is 5 years. I believe it's uh if the unit was occupied, it may be different based on whether it's 1123 or 684. I believe there is a prohibition uh, on it being used on a property uh, where a tenant was it was tenant occupied within the past 5 to 7 years. So that's a challenge in and of itself, I realize. And then in some cases, it's also a challenge to even verify whether or not it was tenant occupied. Sometimes it's not even just a matter uh, of finding a unit that was owner occupied for the last 10 years or whatever, but that verification process is really onerous and a real challenge, and something we're interested in revisiting and cleaning up at the state level.
Thank you.
But yeah, happy to chat more about it too, and go over it together and take a deeper look and discuss. My email's in the chat. And I saved the I can't find it at the moment, but I think what was Jesse's question was about the setbacks, right?
Yes. Jesse said,
Yeah.
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jesse. My
No,
bad.
sorry. It was about the floor area ratio. Like SB9, for instance, allows you to subdivide a single family lot and build one new single family home on each lot, but it restricts the floor area ratio of both buildings to the total floor area ratio of the lot. So if the FAR is 3 to 1 for the entire lot, then both buildings have to add up to 3 to 1. I was wondering if there was something similar in this bill and if it had any provisions regarding like building separation or setbacks, or if they just default to uh, the code based on the local municipality.
Right. No, that's a great question. No, they are standardized for the in terms of floor area ratio. If it's a project with 3 to 7 units, uh, the the floor area ratio, I believe, is 1.0. And then if it's a housing development of 8 to 10 units, the floor area ratio is 1.25. I believe the local government can adopt FARs that are more flexible than that. But I think that they are prohibited from uh, drafting anything more restrictive. So that's actually a good thing for us to include in our asks as well. In terms of setbacks, um, I am drawing a blank, but it's in that similarly it's limited in terms of what cities aren't able to impose one that's too onerous. Um, and it is, shoot, it's a cross-reference. But it's in the neighborhood of what's allowed in ADUs, and I can share that information in the follow-up email as well.
Hey,
Okay,
Jake.
thanks.
Yeah, I've been able to find some answers to a couple of these things. And so I have pasted a couple of them to the chat. First about the FAR, and then about the setbacks. And so, yeah, I think that you mentioned that probably like a local ordinance would be able to like be more flexible, but I think that the by what's in the law that actually passed, that like these are the things um that would actually be the answer to the things without having that sort of like local influence on it.
And a quick follow-up question about the FAR. Um, and I can obviously dig into the law and try to figure out some of these things myself, but for instance, for the 1.0 to 1 FAR for 3 to 7 units. So if you, for instance, built 7 units, each unit's FAR would be based on the buildable area of the newly created lot? Or is that for, say, all 7 of the, like if you subdivided one original lot into 7 lots and built 1 unit on each lot, would that FAR be based on the original lot or the newly created lots?
That is a good question. I haven't seen that question asked. I thought it was in relation to the newly subdivided lot. I don't know if
That would
anyone
make
on the
sense.
call has looked at that issue. But yeah, that's a great question. We'll include that in the follow-up as well.
Yeah, I'm not
Great.
sure about that. I didn't get an answer. I didn't see, because like I see something that talks about the average size of all units across the project must not exceed 1750, which is the net habitable square feet. But I don't know. I don't know how that actually like pencils out like on a design. I don't know if they mean, it doesn't sound like they mean each unit, so maybe I don't know.
Yeah, that would be the average net square footage for all the newly created units. But if each lot has its own setbacks, um, then that 1.0 to 1 for it would vary depending on whether it's each lot, because if you need like a front, side, and rear setbacks for each lot, then your buildable area is going to be different for each lot than it would be if they just based it on the total original lot. But I'll dig into that myself too.
Great. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for the questions. Does anyone have any ideas for cities that would be good places to mobilize around this issue and advocate for strong implementation ordinances or any other questions we can answer here or later via follow-up?
All of them.
Let's go.
I would say probably cities that have historically had a larger minimum lot size for single family lots. I happened to recently be looking at the code in Anaheim, and they have they have several single family zones, but one of them requires a minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet.
Wow.
I could see something like this, really having a lot of potential for implementation there because you've got a bunch of 10,000 square foot single family homes. I don't know how many of them are vacant. That's the only thing, I live in LA, so I don't spend too much time browsing around the neighborhoods to notice if there's a ton of vacant single family homes there. But um, yeah, I think there's probably a lot of potential in cities that have large single family lots.
That's a great idea, Jesse. Yeah, I'll think that over and maybe flag it for our friends at People for Housing Orange County. Alborz.
Yeah, just a couple kind of random thoughts. I think and kind of questions that may be answered with 1116 or may not be. But yeah, like the a couple things are one is like first of all, Alhambra, that's where I am. Would definitely benefit from this. I think especially considering like the missing middle kind of like acting as a warm up to more density. The idea that it could possibly do that. And second of all, and also just to actually kind of fill in the blanks that we don't have. So aside from that, one is like the whole idea of vacant lot. I'm just kind of wondering if that could even be expanded further. Like, hey, if someone's selling their house and they don't live there or what have you, is that a vacant lot? If there's like a estate sale, for example, is that a vacant lot? I mean, that could be a vacant lot. So I mean, I really want to see how far we can stretch this idea of vacancy. Like, if I even live in my house and I want to tear it down, at one point it's going to be vacant. Does that then constitute vacancy? Because I don't want to just build 4 units when I can build 10. And the other question is, it kind of like leads into this, is like the whole lot minimums, which is like I think 1,200 at the moment. Seems a little excessive. Like my house right now is 1,200 square feet. I find that hard to believe, but it is. And you kind of just wonder like what you can actually do with 1,200 square. Like if you have to put multiple 1,200 square feet units, what can you actually do? So that kind of like maybe that's being covered in 1116, but is there a minimum shrinkage that would facilitate actually using this? And I guess just one kind of like fear I have is that if Alhambra say or another city does kind of like take this and make an ordinance out of it, my fear is that they'll kneecap it in some way, and like what are we kind of doing to prevent them from like either doing the bare minimum or actually harming it?
Yeah, those are all really good thoughts. I think some of them will be. I think that is in the universe of things we're looking at with the cleanup bill for SB 1116. The basically creating more flexibility in terms of the lot sizes to make these projects a little easier to build and the bill a little bit easier to use. Um, and in terms of the vacant issue, the bills define it as vacant if it doesn't have a permanent structure or if the permanent structure is abandoned and uninhabitable. One thing that pro-housing leaders at cities have been doing is uh, creating a more open-ended definition of what vacant and uninhabitable means. For instance, maybe that is the utility bills haven't been paid. There have been no utility usage in a few months. So maybe the building is all boarded up. But creating the flexibility in terms of how cities interpret that abandoned and uninhabitable. Yeah, there's a lot of potential there, and maybe the kind of thing that we can look at in terms of standardizing and further reforms at the state level.
I guess a follow-up to that would just be like, why is vacancy like a prerequisite for this law? Like, is that just to, I don't know. Is it to again, is it to kneecap it or is it to like, was it put in by certain like senators or assembly members who like really just wouldn't sign off on it otherwise? Seems
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it's a good question. I don't know the exact genesis of it, but yeah, the idea is it was I think for the political viability of it, it may be even something that the author was in favor of herself as a more incremental approach. But if you'd been living in California in 2022, maybe you were here, but or was it 2020? No, it was 2021. Whenever SB9 passed, I guess it was 2021. The World War III level just apocalyptic just predictions that single family HOAs had over SB9. It's pretty amazing that we were able to get something just a few years later that allows theoretically up to 10 units. We'll see how many places that ends up being feasible. Yeah, unfortunately, it is still incremental, and that probably isn't something that's going to go away with this bill. At least not yet, not this year, not this cleanup bill. Maybe soon. Cool.
So you're saying, so just to clarify, you're saying it will not be the word vacant will not be written out with this cleanup.
Uh, well, never say never. It's not on the list of amendments we're talking about at this point.
Got it.
But
Yeah.
but we'll see.
Well,
Um,
if the FBI is listening, then make it one.
uh, awesome. Well, thanks everybody. I'll be looking this over and sending out a few follow-up thoughts in our recap email along with the recording. You may see a few QR codes if you're not already on a mailing list and would like to join and sign up if you're interested in one of our local chapters or donate to AHLA. QR codes are all there. Thanks everybody. Thanks for coming out and for the questions and the good discussion. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you for this.
Yeah, thank you.